Ever feel like you're standing at the edge of a deal, almost ready to go for it, but something holds you back? Maybe it's not knowing how to structure a partnership. Maybe it's zoning. Maybe it's just the fear of making a mistake on your first project. In this minisode, you'll meet Alan, broker turned first-time developer who saw a property, raised his hand, and said, "I want to be the buyer this time." This episode is for every local who's felt that itch to build something, but needed a little proof that yes, you can figure it out as you go.
My name is Alan Cicito. I am the founder of SES Residential. We're a land acquisition and brokerage firm based here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we just started business about 7 or 8 months ago. I've been a broker for, I don't know, the past 10 years. I really got my foot in the door into real estate and real estate development as a build to rent and single family rental broker. So when build to rent was hot, I was meeting with a lot of local developers and home builders to see if we can package up a lot of finished units and sell them to institutional funds. So for a while, that was really going, and that was the hot thing, especially here in Charlotte, North Carolina. It felt like all the funds want to acquire as many rental homes as possible. And then obviously interest rates hit, pencils went down on the acquisitions firm, and we just kind of had to pivot from there. So my now company, SES, focuses on the acquisitions of land and tear down opportunities. That's one of our verticals. And then we also do land brokerage to either build to rent developers or home builders that are going to sell for sale product.
Awesome. And is that just in North Carolina, or is that nationwide?
Yes.
Or
So right now, just in North Carolina, we're
Okay.
a licensed broker here in the Carolinas. I live here in Charlotte. This is my backyard, so I like to stick with what I know.
Yeah, it's a good market.
Yeah.
Or at least it seems to be.
Yeah.
Very cool. So we were talking offline, and then you've got your first development deal where we were taking it down. So why don't you tell us, how did you find it, and then kind of how the evolution of digging into that went?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a funny story because, like I said, I represented a lot of sellers of SFR portfolios, a lot of landlords who were looking for an exit. This opportunity actually came from a seller. We were negotiating different offers that we had from funds, and this home was a part of that package. For some reason, that home got carved out, and we were able to sell the rest of his portfolio. And during that time, I was just starting to understand zoning in Charlotte and Mecklenburg County, and kind of how to analyze a property from a different lens, not just a buy and hold rental. And, once I kind of understood what we can do on this lot, I actually just reached out to him and said, "Hey, instead of me being your broker, can I be the buyer? I'll waive all our fees. Here's my offer." And, after some back and forth, we were able to get it under contract. And that's really how this deal came apart.
That's what I like to say. If you're adjacent to deals that are happening, and especially as a broker, you get to see so many things that if you have your buy box, or what you want, and then when it comes up, you're first eyes on it.
Exactly. It was eye-opening because I was so used to underwriting just, single family rentals. What's the rent? What's the cash flow? What's the cap rate? And then kind of pivoting to, hey, this is in a nice neighborhood. It's a big piece of land. We can subdivide this. What can I plug in to kind of get to a different investment metric? So that was cool to kind of underwrite it from a different lens after spending so much time just kind of underwriting single family rentals.
What I love about Alan's story is how he shifted his lens. He was already in real estate, already underwriting deals, but once he understood what zoning allowed, he saw a single family property as a development deal. That mental pivot is huge. If you're a broker, agent, or investor in your market, you're probably closer to an opportunity than you realize. You just need to ask a different set of questions. Yeah. And then maybe can we dive into more? So you saw the bigger piece of land. What exact type of due diligence were you doing? Did you reach out to the planning department? How did that go? Because there's a lot of people who will say, I have all this property. I think this could be something. I think it's underutilized. How did you get into the zoning part of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I was a build to rent broker, so I had a lot of relationships with developers and home builders. I actually reached out to who's now my partner. He's a local builder here in the area. and I asked him, I was like, hey, here's what I think. Am I running the numbers correctly? Can you just be my second set of eyes? And he told me, hey, if you can get it for this price, I want to partner with you. I will take you through the process. I know you don't have the experience. This is what we do all day long. I've had a relationship with this builder for 5 years already. So I trust them. They trust me. We've done business before. So I was really relying on them to lead the way. But at the same time, I told them, hey, I want to soak up as much knowledge as I can. Like, I don't want to just be a silent partner. Please keep me in the loop with everything, the headaches, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want to know about this. So the next time I see another opportunity, I'm prepared in what to look for and, what to offer and different intricacies on a piece of property.
Right on. So the partnership is another key angle.
Yep.
Having worked with them for 5 years, did you do any, I guess, further due diligence before saying, hey, let's partner together? Or had you already built that connection and you knew how they operated from prior interactions?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had done business together before. They're one of my favorite clients. Like I said, they're a home builder, so we were able to package up a large amount of homes for them and sell them to an institutional fund, which, they were very thankful because they weren't, too educated into the build to rent world, and me being able to give them another exit kind of put me on the totem pole for them as kind of their go-to broker and dedicated resource for different alternate exits for them. And over time, we just built this relationship. I would see them at different networking events and meetups, and we really just got to know each other outside of business. And there was this trust that was built. And like I said, we've done deals together before, so I was very confident and I was very comfortable entering into a JV with them and spearhead this opportunity.
This part is key. Alan didn't have development experience, but he did have relationships. And he was humble enough to say, I'll bring the deal and the money. You teach me the rest. This is how so many first-time developers get started. Not by doing it all themselves, but partnering smart and soaking up every lesson along the way. So if you're trying to do your first deal solo, maybe pause and just ask, what could I learn by doing this with them? Yep. For sure. You said JV deal. Can you maybe explain more of what does JV mean? Because I know that there's a lot of people who go, I've heard about JV, and then maybe even some of like the legal entity. When did you form that? Kind of some of the nuances around, okay, here's the steps or the way that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I was very green to this to start off with. And so I didn't even really understand. I knew what a joint venture was, but I didn't understand kind of the steps and what that actually entails. So essentially our agreement is I would front the money for the land acquisition. Then them being the builder, they would use their builder's line of credit to do the vertical. So we didn't have to go through a new construction loan or any of that. He would take care of the construction phase. I would take care of the acquisitions, and we drafted up an agreement to split the profits 50-50. And that's a part of the joint venture agreement.
Yep. That's awesome. And a good way to, because people often say, well, how do I structure? What are the percentages? That's where you can, in real estate and development, it could be anything you want, but it really comes down to what's agreeable to both parties to say, hey, let's go in and do this together. And based on what you described and who's bringing what to the table, that does sound like a really great setup. So when you then go to, so you'll split the profits 50-50, will you be then the broker on the sale and get that separately, or is your commission rolled into just the whole, this is all 50-50?
Commission is rolled into everything. Perfect. So that's part of the profit, and kind of what you touched on, me being a broker and just working for commission, there's always a negotiation, hey, this is what I charge for commission. Seller says I can charge you X, and there's no flat fee for everything. Everything's negotiation. So when you said, the JV partnerships is kind of what you guys agree on, that's where you're going to have to rely on your relationship with your partner, your negotiation skills, or what have you. So, that's a great point that you brought up.
Yeah. So now for this project specifically, what was the exact idea and concept of, okay, we're going to do this, and then I know you haven't fully executed yet. So where did you get in that process so far?
Yeah. So right now, like I said, we closed on the property in March. Since then, we've been able to demo the house. We've been able to do some rough grading. And now, as you know, is the long part of dealing with the municipalities, getting all our permits, getting all our plans approved so that we can start the vertical and the construction of the actual homes. It may look like we just demoed the house and it's just been sitting there for, I don't know, 4 months, but behind the scenes, we're working with Mecklenburg County, getting everything approved. And while that's going, we're doing what I think is the fun stuff in terms of picking out exterior color schemes for the siding and picking out different appliances and cabinets and hardwoods, which really makes a property unique. So I'm enjoying kind of that process while everything on the back end is still kind of getting approved. So we're hoping in the next 60 to 75 days we'll be able to break ground and get everything approved. So that's something we're all definitely looking forward to.
And you had said subdivide. So was this 2 or 3 homes you're then building once you subdivide, or?
Yeah. So that's another funny story in itself. Our initial plan, so in Mecklenburg County and in this zoning district in particular, if a lot is X number of square feet, you're able to by right put up to a triplex on each lot. So this lot was actually big enough to subdivide into 2 lots. So our initial thinking was we can put up to 6 units here, which we thought was great. Comps in the area were going for probably $500,000 each. And we're thinking, wow, $3 million worth of real estate on this lot. Like that's a pretty good deal. Fortunately, development gods humbled us very quickly. I don't know if it was probably like 20 years ago, the Charlotte DOT had recorded something where they wanted to put a bike lane right next to our property and they were taking a piece of our property. Of course, that bike lane was just enough to mess up our entire plans. So no longer 6 units. So we had to go back to the drawing board. We had to underwrite different scenarios. Do we want to do duplex? Do we want to do triplex duplex, 2 single family homes? So what we ultimately concluded is that, the most efficient use of it may not be the highest and best use. The most efficient would be a large duplex on one and a single family home on the other. So the logic behind that is that with interest rates right now, there's a lot of sitting inventory, especially with townhomes. So we figured if we can sell just 3 units and get out of the deal, we think that would be a success. And single family homes are hot right now. So especially in that area. So I think that one will be very successful. And then just having a really nice, larger duplex product, a little different from what has been on the market, should definitely garner some attention to us and hopefully a successful sale.
Hey, can we chat for a second? Since you're listening to this podcast, you're already thinking like a developer. You see the potential in your community, and you're ready to do more than just watch from the sidelines. That's exactly why we created the Local Developer Vault. It's a free resource full of tools, templates, and trainings to help you take action. And here's the best part. When you sign up, you'll also get access to our local real estate developer community. It's full of people just like you who are making real things happen in their neighborhoods. So don't just listen to the stories. Become the next one that we spotlight on our show. The link in the show notes to unlock the vault and join our movement. And are you thinking with that, would that be like a house hacker that could live in one, or just an investor who's going to buy it up for the duplex?
Yeah, so this one, we just want to go full retail, just sell for sale product. We ran some different scenarios in terms of, hey, what if we sell one and rent the others and kind of go through that scenario? It's a little more complex. And I guess from my perspective, and this being my first one, there's always this uneasiness about a development and putting such a big investment into a project where I said, hey guys, like, let's just sell this one. I want to see if this concept works. And then maybe on the next opportunity, we can explore that. So we're going for sale on these.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense because sometimes it's good to test the partnership. It's good to test the theory of, hey, is this the right product for this area? Because you could always use those as your fallback plan, but then to work all of that out and go, okay, we went full cycle. We've got this. And you could even leverage that to have future partners that aren't even the builder to be like, hey, we did this, like we took it that full cycle. So at what point, and it sounds like, did you guys end up purchasing the lot before going through all of the zoning stuff? and finding out. And I guess, would you, because sometimes when you're on smaller deals, you can't get the time. If you're on a larger development deal, you can build in time for feasibility and due diligence. But was there a calculated risk of, okay, let's buy it based on this concept. We're going to hope we can get 6, but the price we bought it for was good for other exit strategies if for some reason we can't get our big plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So the great thing about this and the zoning district that this piece of land sits in is that everything was by right. So we didn't have to go to the city and get rezoning or ask for different approvals. You know, it's in the UDO that says if your lot is this big, you by right have permission to put up to a triplex on it. So we were confident in that. The seller did have a survey that he did just a few years ago that, you know, during our quick due diligence period, it was 14 days. We were able to get a survey out there as well, just to update it, just to make sure everything was sound and ready. And yeah, we closed in 25 days. So it was a very quick, turnaround. I didn't want to let the opportunity slip just because I knew if the seller kind of caught on to, hey, maybe my property is worth more, then it would have slipped away. So I wanted to act fast. We had confidence. We had, you know, closed door discussions on should we get a longer due diligence period, should we extend closing, but we ultimately decided to strike pretty quickly on this one.
For sure. And then how did you find out about the DOT right away taking?
Yeah, that was after we closed. That was while our engineers were submitting everything, and I was in the middle of a meeting, and one of the partners shot me a text, said, "Hey, call me right now when you have a second. This is the situation." I immediately panicked and thought like, oh man, of course, this is going to blow everything. But thankfully, again, I've got experienced partners. They're able to go back and forth with Charlotte DOT and able to negotiate. They still ended up taking a piece of our land, which is fine. It's just, it wasn't as much as we thought, which is ultimately good for us.
And do you know if they found that? Was that on the title report? Was that once they plotted easements within the survey itself?
Yeah, so nothing was on title because the title was good. So that was kind of the frustration with us, because if we would have saw that in the title report, I could have gone back to my seller and said, hey, this isn't what I expected. Maybe it's not worth X. Maybe it's worth a little less. And maybe I could have, negotiated with him a little more. But this is something, what my understanding is that this was recorded 20 years ago and like nobody caught it, and it just kind of fell through the cracks. Somebody at DOT, it didn't fall through the cracks for them, and they made it known that this was their plan, and there wasn't really much we could do about it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, things like that will come up, and you say, well, why doesn't the city have it? Why doesn't the county have it? We're asking people to keep good records, where for the most part it was paper records for the longest time, and then you had the fish stuff where we'd be scrolling through to try and find things. Now we're getting a little more electronic. Yeah. And I do think with AI and technology, that's going to drastically change all of this stuff because it is very outdated. Stuff like that is going to come up. And that's a very key point that you made, that, having the right experienced partners to go, okay, the deal blew up, but it didn't, and a development deal will blow up multiple times throughout the process where you go, oh my gosh, what head in the hands, did I totally screw this up? What is happening? I was trying something new. But then that's where to me, part of the fun is, okay, well, how do we work together to find a way to still make something good happen? Maybe it's not the grand slam, maybe it's the double.
Yeah.
And just kind of learning about, the partnerships and the design team and the people that you have on your team. Are these my go-to people that we could do more deals together with, to where it's more than even just this project?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was definitely a learning experience for me. But the great thing about it is that, we had so many different alternate scenarios that we can kind of bounce back on. Like you said, it may not be the grand slam project that we thought, but hey, at the end of the day, if we can still fit multiple units on a parcel that, we paid the value of one home on, I think at the end of the day, it'll still be a successful project.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, even if you were to break even, your knowledge that you gained going through the process to this point, you can't
Invaluable.
trade that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're going to have so much more confidence in different avenues and things and be able to move quicker. And here's where the plan meets real life. They thought they could build 6 units, then found out DOT recorded a bike lane easement 20 plus years ago that wiped out their density. Welcome to development, where your deal blows up multiple times along the way and you still find a way forward. What I appreciate is how they adjusted quickly. They didn't scrap the project or panic. They re-underwrote their options and kept moving. You can't avoid every landmine, but you can stack your team with people who help you adapt when the inevitable curveballs come. Was there anything that has surprised you about the process so far, whether it's neighbors or the city outside of that, or is it other kind of flowed?
Yeah, I think outside of that initial hiccup, which was very early on in the process, so immediately I was like, oh, okay, we're doomed. I'm never doing this again. I'll just stick to brokering deals. Outside of that, everything has been relatively smooth. We did have what we think is a neighbor throw a giant boulder through one of our demo equipments as a welcome to the neighborhood speak. So outside of that, just normal. Everything has been pretty smooth. I think we do have a good idea of what we can build now. We're pretty dialed in on our costs and our vertical costs and everything. So we have a good depiction of, what we should make at the end of the day in terms of profit. So we're in a good place right now. It's just, like I said, tying those loose ends with the city. We do see light at the end of the tunnel. And once we can get to breaking ground and going vertical, it's going to be a fun thing to experience.
Yeah. All right. So we're at July 1st of 25 right now.
Yep.
When do you anticipate breaking ground, and when do you anticipate being done to where you can get them on the market to sell? Because then we'll bring you back on and see how did that end up working.
So hopefully I don't, stick my foot in my mouth for part 2, but we're hoping to break ground in the next 60 days. So I would say end of September, and then probably another 4 months in terms of construction. So another 150 days after that. Or Q1 of next year, early Q1 of next year is kind of what we're shooting for. Hopefully there's no rain delays or different external factors, but that's what we're shooting for.
Or windows that are on back order, or supply chain issues, or transformer, or whatever.
We haven't even touched on the macroeconomic factors that can happen. So that's a different beast that I'm trying not to think about, but there's always that to consider.
And that's the risk with development, is that it does span such a longer time frame that many, many things can happen. Yeah. So just for full picture, so if Q1 of 26 you're selling, when did you officially buy the property?
March 1st of this year.
Okay. So, I mean, you're looking at having this, done in less than 12 months and getting it out and sold. So, okay. Well, definitely looking forward to hearing how that ends. Anything else you would say from this beginning stages of where you're at, that for someone who's interested, who wants to dip a toe in, but aren't sure, that just to give them any advice at this stage?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was at that crossroads for so long where I was so focused on the education part of it and really the understanding and the underwriting. And I was just at this crossroads of, am I going to do this? Should I do this? Should I not do it? Obviously, you can run so many models, you can underwrite so many deals, but if you don't actually take action, then none of this is going to be possible. I remember just, going back to just thinking and weighing the pros and cons. I came across a really incredible quote, which kind of kicked me in the direction. It's like, hey, do you want to do this or do you not want to do this? Let's just go after it. And the quote read, if you're worried about the cost of going for it, you should see the price of staying exactly where you are. And when I saw that, I was like, all right, this is my sign. Even if it doesn't work out, I can at least say I tried, and I can learn from it. And maybe it doesn't work out this one, maybe the next one works out. So it's all about just taking action. You can underwrite deals as much as you want. You can go to networking events and different courses and this and that. But if you don't actually go for it, then you'll just stay in the exact same position as you've always been.
I hope you caught the full arc here. Alan didn't overthink his way into the game, He took a calculated risk, leaned on people he trusted, and learned through doing. He's not just building houses, he's building a track record, a proof point, a base for the next deal and the next one. So if you've been stuck in research mode thinking you need to know everything first, maybe this is your nudge. Start where you are, partner where it makes sense, and figure out the rest along the way. If you love this minisode and want more boots on the ground stories from real people building in their own backyard, subscribe to the Local Real Estate Developer Podcast on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.